I wonder whether, do you think this is going to be an issue or not, especially with the young and the polytechnics type? Thanks.
I have been in EDB for 10 years, and I spent the first 5 years of my EDB career promoting, we used to call it technopreneurship, technology enterprises. And back then, 10 years ago, I remember a lot of the indicators in what we call the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. Singapore ranked really poorly compared to a lot of the other economies, whether developed economies or developing economies. And due to the good work of Spring and also the platform called ACE, Action Community for Entrepreneurship, I think a lot of these indicators have shown remarkable improvements. And I think in the past few years, we have seen enough of young role models, right? More recently, a very young boy who developed the iPhone app. That is entrepreneurship, because it doesn't mean you have to be someone in your 30s, to make millions of dollars to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is about being able to bring an idea to life and in the process value adding to people, individuals or businesses. And other than that, I'm sure in the past few years we have seen enough of role models being profiled by the media here, right? From universities or even young adults in their 20s who choose not to join an MNC, not to join a civil service, but to strike it out on their own. Just like I did when I was young and naive in my mid-20s, I decided to spend 1 year of my life doing a startup business. So I'm very, very, personally, I'm very encouraged. And I hope part of what I did contributed to today's development. Thank you.
Do you think this is going to be an issue, it's, especially with startup, among the polytechnics and also among the mom and pop shops? I think they face with a lot of problems.
Okay, if I can take that question again. In general, businesses are probably classified into two groups. One group that will look at the global markets for growth. And we all know some of this business involves innovative business models like Infocom and media software. There will be some domestic products and services companies that will need to sell their products within the confine of Singapore in order to make a business, right? Now, a lot of the business that was started in the university and polytechnics, etc., are not in the latter group, but also in the former group. And I believe there are enough. Today's environment, it's pro-business enough, and there are enough access to funds, markets, talent, mentorship, network to allow these young and upcoming budding entrepreneurs to find funds if they need, or markets, whether is it in ASEAN or in the global market, to take their business to the next step.
Perhaps you can share with us how do you hope to translate, the work that you have been doing in your respective institution, like in EDB, MINDEF, and NTUC, to the concerns of the common man when you go down to the ground. How will you be able to relate to the concerns of the common man? And for DPM, what's your reaction to SM's suggestion yesterday that, in time to come, terms of cabinet ministers could be limited to 2 terms? Thank you.
Patrick, you'd like to answer the question first?
I think for myself, I think being with the unions, I think, of course, workers, there are several very pressing concerns amongst our workers. Of course, you have this particular group called the low-wage workers, and of course the casual and contract workers. But increasingly, as we all know, in terms of demographic profile, I think Singapore, as we know, is reported that we are seeing more professionals, managers and executives. So I think besides assisting low-wage workers, casual contract workers, I think we also need to also pay attention to this group of people and how we can give them better access to assistance through various legislation and various avenues. For example, like earlier this year, we introduced a tripartite mediation panel process. I think that's one step forward. I think the tripartite partners will continue to work closely together to combat these issues. So I think, for me, I think being a voice for the workers, being involved with the trade unions and the labour movement, we have been championing the cause for workers. We will continue to do it. And be all the entire spectrum from low wage and the sandwich class as well as the PMEs as well.
Like Chanjin?
I think firstly, in the Army, the training that we receive and the operations we carry out equip us to deal with uncertainties, to sense make, and to try to translate, as I said earlier, complex ideas into details and to execute them. But I think importantly for us, especially in the Army, because of a national service institution, from day one as a young commander, you have to deal with people. And as you lead, I think it's important to realize that to engender and to earn trust and respect has very little to do with your rank. People will do what they need to do so they don't get into trouble and so on. But to really earn trust and respect has got to do with being able to inspire them and to instill that. And I think in the course of the years, I think we also deal with, we've come in contact with many of our soldiers with a lot of issues. For example, I had a soldier who went AWOL. In fact, a few of them who went AWOL. And the conventional wisdom is they're all trying to escape and so on. But when you actually explore and try and examine the situation, you realize for some of them, they went AWOL because of the financial difficulties they were facing. They were going out to look for jobs to supplement the family income. I had one soldier who was angkong all over, DC, you salakau, and which group you're in, and so on and so forth. But, sometimes in society, we just write off certain groups. But when we talk to them, every one of them have their aspirations, they have difficulties, broken family backgrounds, but yet hoping that perhaps they could make good. And I think in our own way, in over the years, getting to know some of our soldiers, I think helped us understand that really there are many people in society with a wide range of issues, which today in my initial interaction with the grassroots, I realized that that's something that would be useful. I don't claim to understand it, but I hope to be able to empathize and to do my best to reach out to them and help them. And I think one of the key things really I just want to say also is that in the Army, you bring people with actually very different backgrounds together. You take them out of the comfort zone with their homes and the schools, different races, different economic backgrounds. In NS units, you've got hawkers, you've got drivers, you've got bankers, and they go out week on end on exercises. They go and Cheong Sua together. And that creates shared memories, bonds that bind. And I think in a very simple but important way, that's a small step in building our nation. And I think the ability to try to bring that about and engender those kind of experiences, and how do we then bring that, not to get people to march up and down and so on in society, but I think the basic building blocks remain the same.
Thank you. Yen Ling?
I spent the first 5 years of my career in the private sector, close to 4 years in financial sector, extending credit facilities to SMEs. I can appreciate the P&L orientation, the need for bottom line for SMEs. And I remember distinctly 1997 when the Asian financial crisis erupted. It disrupted many of my clients. Subsequently, I spent another 1 year in a startup. I can empathize with the issues, all right, and the sleepless nights that people in a startup will experience, because it's a business. It's about ongoing concern. Not about growing to 1 billion, but about getting the next contract so you can pay the wages to your small team, etc. So the first 5 years of my career has really allowed me to better understand the bottom line orientation of business community, and the fact that Singapore is a small and open economy. We are we are vulnerable to a lot of the external factors, and this is where SMEs, during downtime, will need support from the government to tide over. The subsequent 10 years of my career was spent in EDB, dealing with businesses as well as various government agencies, and I must say that it has sharpened my policy acumen. I can better appreciate the benefits that the government policy bring to the business community and to individuals. And I believe that this 15 years of career in private and public sector, a combination of understanding the concerns of the SMEs, people in a startup, as well as the other perspective from the government, allows me to offer a grounded perspective to help solve the constituents' problem, as well as the approach to advancing their cause. Thank you.